You're listening to Radio Flange Goblet. Well, don't blame us. It's not like we forced you to or anything. Well, maybe we did. Just a little. Good evening. Good morning. Good day, sir. Good night. Goodbye. And welcome to another shiny and exceptionally classy episode of the After Movie Diner. Moustaches have been highly waxed, thighs have been heartily rubbed, and bellies have been filled to bring you this jam-packed Motown Media Shock Marathon's Charlie and Farley extravaganza. We've polished the diner puffin, we've liberally sprinkled hundreds and thousands on the ice cream of chat, and added a huge dollop of raspberry sauce that is friendship, good cheer, and our combined passion for the love, for the thrill, for the delight of, in, and for movies. In this case, and for this episode in particular, our combined love of one of my top 10 movies of all of 2016, Slingshot Cops. So without further waffling and flamgumptionry from me, let us crash through these proverbial walls of insecurity and flatulence and career headlong down the rubber slide of podcasting. First up on the show, we thought it could never happen. It's the exciting, exclusive, the wonderful, the charming, the beautiful, the delectable, the funny, the sparkly-eyed, and the incredibly tolerant of my flabby, beardy ass, Kimberly Taylor. She has entirely her own teeth, can count to way more than 10 without using her fingers or sticking her tongue out like a weirdo, and can charge a baboon at 20 paces and overpower it with use of her secret and potent barbarian warrior skills. So let's ramble on over to a diner in Connecticut and my conversation with literally the light and love of my life, Kim Taylor.
Shouldn't they hear me, slurp my coffee?
Well, this is exciting. It's an After Movie Diner exclusive, as we have just been to see in the phenomenal Strand Theatre in Seymour, Connecticut, the Connecticut premiere of Slingshot Cops, a movie which your erstwhile host, me, appeared in. And it's also a first for the show because we are sat in an actual diner, Riverdale diner, with none other than the wonderful Kimberly Taylor, who just sat and watched the film with me. And I thought that we would take this opportunity to get some of her feedback and hopefully use this as part of a Slingshot Cops special episode. So, Kim, it is an absolutely wonderful pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, John.
So, we saw the film tonight at the theatre, and what was your first impression as the lights went down and the scenes came up and Matt was troweling his way through Seymour, Connecticut, and came across three wily fireworks dealers? What was your first impression?
Well, I would say that that trio of characters, I think, were some of my favorites of the whole movie.
Yeah. You're a little bit biased.
I'm maybe a little bit biased.
You are a lot biased.
But I'll have to say like one thing. I think some of those small bits of it are very memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like little tiny. Not only the sound, the cackling, but also the action comedy and motion comedy, like throughout the different cuts of the chases and things like that. But that was some of my favorite bits.
And how did you think that, like, some of the gags, the initial gags, because they throw you right into it, like immediately.
Are you doing okay so far, guys?
Great. Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you.
You're right into the action right at the very beginning. There's kind of like a pre-credit sequence that definitely kind of sets up Matt Farley, Rusty Sinclair's bugbear throughout the movie. How did you feel like the jokes landed? How did you think like Charlie showing up with his cat food?
Oh my God. I mean, it's hilarious. I mean, the dynamic between the two of them too. I mean, and knowing that like they're part not only in starring but also like making this thing happen.
Yeah.
It's great fun. Like watching them work together even on screen is pretty fun.
Well, what I loved about this one in particular, and this is kind of true of all of their movies, but when they set up a town, so when they, in this one, the town of Woodsville Center, the same, I mean, A, because they obviously use a lot of the same people, but secondly, they really kind of you get a sense of the town. Like Charlie is the same character throughout the movie. Like he's that character, the sort of doddery, indecisive, kind of nerdish, nebbish guy throughout the film. And the fact that he reoccurs, and the fact that like the guys in the cupcake shop reappear, and it's not just the main characters that give you a sense of the plot, but all the subsidiary characters that are kind of giving you the world, you know what I mean, in which this movie takes place.
Yeah, it has as a movie, it has a sense of community outside of it just being in that small town.
Right.
You know? I don't know. It was really fun.
So
I found myself definitely cackling through the theater, almost embarrassed at my own laughter.
I think they like that though. They want to hear. Yeah, they want to hear it when it shows up.
There are some great moments.
So some of your favorite performances, or you can name characters, and I'll fill in the blanks as to who they were. But
Sure. Well, I mean, I love the commish.
right, Mr. Farley,
I mean, Matt's father.
Matt's dad.
I actually find him to be a great actor of all of them. They're like all the way throughout. He was one of my favorites. I'm happy that he was in it as much as he was.
Yeah,
And it was great to meet him.
you got to meet him at the
It
premiere.
was really great. I have to say, I would have liked to hear a little more Jay Mayo.
I would have liked Jay Mayo to have had
was
a
he
line.
a sergeant? Was he a sergeant? Was it Sergeant Mayo?
He was kind of a bit of
Officer
everything.
Mayo?
Officer Mayo.
In that role, I would have loved a little voicing of that role to come through.
But as Matt
But
said,
hilariously placed.
after the screening, Matt said one of his joys of watching the film over and over is Jay's reactions.
Oh my god.
Like Jay's little cutaways and stuff, especially when he's handed Pippi.
Pippi,
That's
I love the
amazing, that's
Pippi
it.
moment. I also love Pippi's role.
Pippi knocked this one out of the park.
There's certainly a dog lover in me that
Yes.
everybody knows about, and I've gotten to also had the opportunity to meet Pippi.
Yeah.
We haven't discussed this, and I
No.
really didn't know. And I mean, Pippi and I
Right.
haven't discussed this.
No.
But I didn't know that Pippi had such a strong role
Uh-huh.
in the film, and I think it was phenomenal.
She was very good in the movie.
And I'm glad she, was able to come back.
Indeed. Considering in reality, or certainly the couple of times I've met her, she's not the most controllable dog. She's very lively. The fact that she was so well behaved in this was beautiful, I felt. Maybe she's coming into her maturity as an actress.
I wonder who Pippi's influences are.
Benji, definitely.
You think?
Oh, there's definitely a Benji aspect. Lassie, the littlest hobo. There's definitely that thing where the dog saves the day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
She's part of the... if little Timmy had fallen down the well and needed his medicine, you'd want crying pup Pippi on your side.
I'm trying to think of some other favorite. I mean, I don't know. It was put together really well. I think all the performances were great.
Kevin
and
McGee.
Hilarious. Oh, I mean,
Knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
absolutely.
absolutely phenomenal with no sense of... The incredible thing about him is, like, he's such a good actor that there's no sense of... And the thing I love about Matt's films in general, there's no sense of irony, there's no sense of, knowingly nodding and winking at the camera. Mm-hmm. He is playing that character. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With all its pompous and,
Class act,
braggadocio
for sure.
and swagger.
And his creepiness in that role comes through, especially with the scenes with Elizabeth.
The scenes with Elizabeth, when
especially the first scene with her after she had already,
Yeah.
been taken of her sense of sight.
Right.
And he comes in to approach
So-
her in the home, and he's just perfectly creepy.
He's very threatening, but Elizabeth is wonderfully commanding of her feminine rights.
Yes.
She's like, is this concerning my medical condition? Then goodbye, sir. Which I loved. But my
She's
favorite
really
bit,
good at shutting it down.
my favorite bit was at the very end, and this isn't spoiling anything, him opening her front door and kind of like sleazing in through the front door with that wonderful, like, what was her name? Akira, right?
Kira
Hello. Yes. Why, hello, Kira Steadley. Like, the way he did that was just amazing.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
There was a moment where Rusty approaches Kira at her front door.
Yes.
And he doesn't really greet her. She just acknowledges him and walks in. And I was like, does she have her sight back?
Yes.
Is that where I was supposed to already know that she had her sight
by
back?
By the end of the movie, she has her sight back.
I know that. But at that moment, it made me go, how does she see him? How does she know who it is? And I didn't know.
And it may be that it's not commented on the rest of the movie, because he shows up, that's the last... He kind of shows up for the climax at that point. So I'm assuming she kind of is aware. You know what I mean? That's what I'm going to go with. But I think Elizabeth got the biggest laugh of the night.
What?
For her phone acting. Her blind phone acting. When after she finished the phone conversation...
Hanging up the phone.
The comedic timing of that was... that had me laughing into the next scene. That was like Mel Brooksian. That was fantastic. Elizabeth, you certainly got the hardest laugh.
That abrupt slam of the phone was so, it was supposed to be so much satisfaction for her.
Yes.
And to have missed the phone handle, it was perfect.
It was. What did you think about Matt's undercover performance?
Well,
where Matt dressed up as I don't know what that was. He was in like a kind of...
I can't remember the name.
It was something like Po' Boy Jimmy or something. I don't know what it was. It was like...
I think you still have the New Orleans influence of our trip.
It was definitely Pobo something, because he was like doing the Pobo.
I mean...
Doing the Pobo, like he was doing...
I mean, Matt's performance across the whole movie, to me, is a favorite. That is for sure.
Yeah.
But... I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to that same scene you're talking about. I think Pippi steals the show there.
As, what was the name of...
I'm not remembering
Chomps.
names. Chomps?
Chomps. Chomp or Chomps?
Pippi's undercover performance...
In a leather jacket.
was really...
Pippi's leather jackets, Chomps. That was amazing. It also had the best joke and the best written joke. And the best written joke was... I don't know if it was the South Side Shuffle or the North Side Shuffle. I don't know. I don't have my compass. That was amazing. I did love that.
That was great.
Oh, but Matt's performance by the graveside. Oh my goodness. Oscar worthy.
Yeah, very. It was very emotional too. Matt shows great emotion when he's, especially during the like a close-up format, and when he's speaking. Like, he's super clear on what he's saying and how he's saying things, but in those kinds of moments, I really enjoy him, like, kind of being zoomed in on, and you're grabbing a moment, like, right out of his head, sort of.
What I also liked was, I mean, it goes without saying all the performances are amazing. Tom is the Eastern European, making very little attempt at an accent. It has to be said. Like, at some points it was British, at some points it was just American with a twang, but... I liked how something that could have been a somewhat easy joke, he is actually embraced by the community and becomes like a part of... Like, there's never anything mean in a motor media movie. Even the jokes are not mean or at anyone's expense.
Nope.
Everyone, even if they're taking the mick out of like that idea of the foreigner is embraced.
Yep, absolutely.
Becomes a hero.
Yep. Yeah, for
I
sure.
really love that. Yeah.
Well, that's the that sense of authenticity that comes through in anything that I think Matt touches. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know Charlie as well, but like the duo, like what they kind of do together, it sounds like that's Charlie's
definitely got that sensibility too. Yeah,
I mean, it's pretty amazing. I think that authenticity comes through. Like, no one's doing things that way.
No, and that sense of the way things used to be, without it being
dated. Is that what you're trying to get at?
No, but like maintaining certain civilities and certain innocences
it creates a timelessness. Sort
Yeah,
of. Yeah.
that the like cynical, satirical, what's the word? I mean, kind of hip comedy of today doesn't have that, because it's always looking at, well, who do we attack next? And this somehow, or who do we look down our nose at? Like, we're so above everyone
Well, also,
else.
it's refreshing to be able to watch something modern today that is thoughtful, silly,
Yep.
and family friendly.
Oh, completely, yeah.
You know?
I mean, Freaky Farley probably remains their most questionable material in terms of like showing it to kids, because he's a peeping Tom and whatever, but you could still totally show it to children and it wouldn't be a thing. I'm just saying within the realm of motor media, it's the...
Is that good?
Oh yeah, it's great.
Do you want to bite?
No, I'm good, but did you want some of my sandwich? I don't know where it sits, like in the Motown world. It's a departure for them. It's kind of different. It has the supernatural elements, but it's certainly more. I tell you what it is. It's certainly more obviously parody than the other ones. Meaning, it's definitely parodying the tropes of action buddy cop films. In a way that their other movies aren't parodying anything in the genre. I guess River Beast has some aspect of parody of the like archetype characters in a monster movie, I guess. But this one has out and out kind of spoof bits in it, having having the doctor suddenly appear in the police station and have all the answers and stuff, and having the music and the training montage and all that.
More coffee?
Yeah, thank you.
But it's good. Everyone brought their A game, I think.
I love how there's really like no weapons outside of
No.
the slingshots and an explosive here and there.
A firework, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, really a firework, but...
And one of their first movies to feature a digital effect. The glowing pink feet.
foot?
Yeah.
More purple than pink, would you say?
Which I thought was good for you, because it's like your worst colour.
Yes. It really brought back the evil. Brought the evil.
Because had it been red, which is more traditional...
For those that don't know, I am not a fan of the color purple. But mostly that's for things for me. It's not that color is truly like a pain point for me. It's more like I will not really purchase anything that's purple.
Right.
It's strange.
There's also this movie, more than anything, the production values. We get the scene in the arcade, the returning scenes in the cupcake shop, the sequence where the Eastern European is thrown out of town and is wandering through that amazing woodland stream. Obviously the police station in the garage, which I think photographed really nicely. I mean, had he not announced
they made a note about that. Yeah, they made a mention of that prior to the screening when they, Matt and Charlie really introduced the film for the audience and made a note about where the police station was set in his garage at home. And I don't think I would have really paid much attention to that had he not said it.
Right, and they did a really good job, Charlie did, of making it look bigger.
Yes, than it is.
And having several doors into other rooms and so on and so forth, when really
it's just the two rooms.
Just the 2 rooms, yeah. And I thought that was very cleverly done. Very cleverly done.
Fun film work too, just fun camera work on some of the outdoor scenes too.
I feel like when Sensefoot was around,
from below, and
I feel like when McGee was around, there was a more like floaty almost fisheye camera work going on, especially in the later scenes when he was harassing Elizabeth.
God, his facial expressions.
He's amazing. I mean, McGee is just amazing.
Rolling of the eyes.
Oh yeah, he's incredible. He's incredible. His sequence when he was listing what was in the cupcake. My God, that was amazing.
I wanted a cupcake.
Oh, the budget alone, I think $5,000 of this budget went on the cupcakes.
They look like good cupcakes. It was sad to hear that chocolate salted caramel one wasn't available in the end.
It was sold out, yeah.
But I think the vanilla worked.
Probably because what I also liked is at the end when they send Sharon Scalzo, that's Tom's brother who played the desk sergeant who then became his partner.
Yeah, what was her character name? Whose cousin? Who was that?
It's Tom's sister.
Oh, Tom's sister.
The Eastern European
okay.
sister. Yeah.
Okay.
Damn it, I forget her name.
Starts with an A.
Amanda?
No. Is it Ariana?
No.
What was it?
Andrea? No.
Andrea? Adrian? Oh my God, I can't remember her name. She's fun.
No.
She's been in other movies.
She's in all of them.
Yeah, I've seen her.
She's the psycho in Local Legends.
Right.
She's his love interest in Freaky Farley.
Mm-hmm.
She gets captured in River Beast. I liked how when she went to the cupcake shop and Charlie was being indecisive about what cupcake he wanted, she didn't run forward and be like, police business. She just waited dutifully in line. Hi, Charlie.
He played a great character.
Charlie was wonderful in the movie. Charlie was really good. And I feel like on camera, Charlie, in some weird way, looks different than he does in real life. Everyone else kind of looks the same, but... In fact, I didn't realize that tonight Tom and Matt were both dressed in their character costume.
Oh.
Tom was wearing his shirt.
Right, but...
And Matt had his cream
I
shirt
didn't think of that
and blue
with
jeans
Matt.
on. Well, because Matt always wears
That's
that.
what he wears.
Yeah. That is basically what Matt always wears. I have to say the gravy was amazing.
Yeah, you guys are missing out.
I had a turkey avocado melt. And Kim had the meatloaf.
Really good diner meatloaf.
And I had disco fries. Well, Kim, thank you ever so much for your review of Slingshot Cops. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
I want to see if they have cupcakes on the menu.
Okay.
For dessert. I don't think they do, but I'm going to ask no matter what. No, I had a wonderful time.
Best advert for that cupcake shop ever, I think, this movie.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't mention Jim McHugh, Matt's uncle, who played his partner, the old guy.
Yep.
The largest role in a Motown media movie to date.
Really?
Yeah, well, the joke with Jim McHugh is that they tend to have to break his lines down to 15 different shots because he can't remember big chunks of dialogue. But actually, I think he handled it very well.
Didn't the three of you talk about that during when you guys did a behind the scenes fireside chat? I remember hearing a bit of that.
It's
story.
on the Blu-ray. We have to watch that tonight when we get home. The extra.
Yes, we do. We're gonna watch it all over again.
I might.
But I think we need to get cupcakes.
Okay. Is there anywhere near us that does cupcakes late at night? Is there a late night cupcake shop in Brooklyn?
Sure, we'll find it.
That sounds like that should be a thing.
Where do we live?
I was going to say that should be a thing, right?
Yeah,
Hipster
and if there's
Central?
not, we're doing the wrong thing.
If there's not, we make one.
Yes, we should be. Making sure that there's late night cupcakes available for everybody.
Well, this has been a pleasure. Well, thank you very much for being with me.
You're welcome.
Well, marvelous, yes. And if that conversation and review of the film didn't whet your appetite wetter than an old dribbly man's bib after an enormous corn on the cob, then I don't know what will. Maybe what's coming up now, which is a wonderful, fantastic, barracuda taunting, giraffe tickling, and otter face punching conversation with the two brains, the four hands, the two mouths, and the quite a lot of hairs behind Slingshot Cops. And that is none other than Charlie Horatio Roxburgh and Matthew Rumbold McTavish Farley, the third Duke of all the coffee milk. What hasn't already been said about these two fine and upstanding gentlemen would be difficult to fit into a wobbly IKEA ottoman, but I will simply say this. They are two of the finest, most creative and downright welcoming chaps a person might have the pleasure to spend a short afternoon with playing tiddlywinks or hopping for pike down at the local brook. Let's dive right into our chat like an over-enthusiastic but quite simple child might fall headlong into an empty swimming pool before the butler has had time to fill it with pudding and the feathers of Peruvian dogs.
After the tour, we're going to try another bombard the press and just the world to try to sell it. And the angle we're thinking of going with is, have you ever thought that people in your life should be in a feature film? We did, and then we made it. You know, that's like the general message.
Right. Okay. Excellent.
So I'm, if Charlie's up to it, of course, the task of making a trailer that it could run like 4 or 5 minutes, probably, right, Charlie?
I think it could. It's a mixture of behind the scenes and the scenes, actually.
Yeah. It's the story of how it was made and just how interesting it is to me, at least, that some guy that we listened to his podcast named Jon Cross, we ended up putting in the movie. That's pretty interesting, and that's just one thing, the supervisor from my job. See, hey, you want to be in a movie? He's like, yeah, and boom, he's the villain, et cetera, et cetera. I think
like the people that, some of the people who were the concerned citizens, there's one shot that's in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like, just have an open mind about what you've got that you can use.
Right.
Yeah. And we want to inspire people to do it themselves, to do it too. Everyone should be doing this, I think.
A little different topic. I was looking at the fireside chat today, the extra footage I have.
Yes.
And there's only like another 10 seconds or so before my and Farley's camera died. So I think I'm just going to roll with you, Jon Cross. I experimented with making a still of me and Farley and putting it up when we were talking, like we had mentioned that day. I don't know. I wonder if it's going to be so distracting that people won't be able to pay attention to the audio as much, take it seriously. So I might just roll with you for another chunk of time and put it on YouTube like this week.
Sure. Whatever. That's absolutely fine. Whatever you think.
Thanks for doing that little commercial blurb on the prom night to the sequels, slasher sequels. I heard that the other day. That was nice.
Yeah, I'm going to do that up until the last screening. And then even a couple ones after that, just selling the Blu-ray and DVD. And it's good because I put that page together, so I'm able to kind of direct people to my site and then to your site. Like, it's a nice... I'm getting some benefit out of it as well, so it's kind of cool. Everyone's happy, I think.
Did that podcast come out? Is that episode 202 for you, John? Because I don't.
Hello,
see...
Mary Lou. It's John said that.
I don't see it on my iTunes app.
Your feed might be slow because he switched.
Yeah. So what happened, Farley? And this I'm going to have to make an announcement on.
I'm devastated.
On iTunes, it's updated. So if you search After Movie Diner using your iTunes app and go on to actual iTunes, you will see the episodes there and you can individually download them. The podcast app, even if you delete it off your phone and clear out all the stuff and everything else, because I've tried it, has not been updated by iTunes. So it's only showing the feed that was coming through TalkShoe. It's not showing the feed that was coming through Blog Talk Radio because I've transferred over.
Well, I just downloaded it. I had to just search. It worked searching on the app, and then I found the episode, and now I'm downloading the episode. So I got it that way.
I loved your part twos though. That was great, or just talking about the sequels was great. I think Farley will like it.
Yeah,
Heck
no,
yeah.
well, that was a podcast that when I posted about it, I think Matt said that he was into that.
Oh, Hello,
Yeah.
Mary Lou as a subtitle. Was that a decision made to help the business? Like, the distributors say horror dudes in the VHS store, like in the VHS aisle, are just gonna grab this off the shelf because it's called Hello, Mary Lou. I love that. That's just one of the questions for the ages. How?
Yeah, it's completely bananas
Why?
because the movie wasn't made as Prom Night 2. And not
Yeah.
only that, but it's Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. So Prom Night 2 is the
Oh, yeah.
subtitle. Hello, Mary Lou is technically the name of the movie. So it really doesn't make any sense at all. Unless they normally it would be Prom Night 2, Hello, Mary Lou.
Yes.
But they
Right.
must have been like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Who's Mary Lou? Why are we saying hello to her? Make it Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2. That somehow works. I don't know why, but that's
Yeah.
how it is.
And Hello, Mary Lou sounds like a total 80s, like, girls at a summer camp comedy, or I don't know, one of those, like, just one of the guys, or what, some title like that. Does not
You know,
have any-
I believe it's a quote of a Ricky Nelson song too, right?
Oh,
Is it?
okay.
Okay.
I said, "Hello, Mary Lou, goodbye, heart, sweet Mary."
Yeah, that's true. But does that?
You
Yeah.
Does that
That's what
song
I
even
was-
play in the movie though?
don't know. Don't
No
know.
horror element, but good call, Farley. I like that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I don't know. I think it evokes the 50s. It evokes Americana and nostalgia. You don't really get people called Mary Lou anymore, and if you do, they don't make movies about them.
Yeah, it makes me kind of want to watch the movie more, and just for celebrating that VHS era of,
Yes.
of weird titles and weird decisions and weird box art.
Well, what I love about it is that it was never meant to be a Prom Night 2 sequel. They just made it as a movie in Canada, and then the distributor wanted it to be a sequel, and then the Canadians went ahead and made the third one as well. The third one, so they were like, we don't want it to be a sequel. We're going to fight back. The distributor was like, shut up, it's a sequel. And then the Canadians went, oh, all right, we'll make another one then.
I would do that too. I love that.
Yeah. So there's all these, like, I find that far more fascinating, the stories behind these B movies and behind little slashers and things like that, far more fascinating than how they made Independence Day. Like, I've no interest in, I presume they hired Will Smith and he punched a CGI alien. Like, I don't need a story behind that, because I can imagine the story behind that is that there was a script written and a director picked and a big studio went, these people are going to be in it, and go away and make the movie. Whereas I want to know how movies like Hello, Mary Lou, Popcorn, which is another great one, Spookies, like those kind of movies, I want to know the behind the scenes of. So
Yeah, me too.
that's what I'm excited. And in fact, that's why we have Charlie and Farley on the show today, because I know that the listeners are clamoring to find out the behind-the-scenes stories that go into the now hit film out of Massachusetts, Slingshot Cops, which
Good
has
segue.
officially been screening in cinemas all through the Northeast for the last month. Is it now, fellas?
Yeah, oh yeah. It's we have Massachusetts, San Francisco, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and it's wrapping up on Saturday in upstate New York.
And what's hilarious to me is that, your success is such that you're able to hit those markets. They're the markets the studios wish they had. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're the markets, the all-important markets that the studios are like, I just don't know how we're going to hit Providence, Rhode Island with this big release. And they won't, because people have had enough of them. They're old. They're boring, and they're dying out. People want
It's
Slingshot
the
Cops.
revolution.
It is.
We're leaders of a gosh darn revolution in filmmaking, and it's you're going to watch this movie, and then you're going to go home and you're going to start writing your own movie just like it, because it's an inspirational movie.
It is an inspirational movie. Now, I'm not going to go into the spiel yet again as to who you guys are. I want my audience on my website. It's really easy. You just search Motor Media or Shock Marathons or Matt Farley or Charlie Roxburgh, search in the big search field, and you will see all the podcasts, all the articles, all the reviews, everything that us gentlemen have done together over the last, I want to say 5 years now, since you sent me Freaky Farley and Manch Vegas. Is that right? About 5 years, I think.
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah, I learned about you, John, because of Don Dohler.
Yes.
Yeah, because I never thought I'd find anyone podcasting about Don Dohler. And
now
it was awesome.
Now everyone's getting on my bandwagon. Now Don Dohler has a fan page on Facebook, and other people are doing video reviews of his, and that's what happens. When you're a trendsetter.
He deserves it, though. He deserves it.
Oh, he does. I don't begrudge Don anything at all. And in fact, I'm taking credit for it, but really it is the dual efforts of Mr. John Kinhart, who made the fantastic documentary on him, and the wonderful Mr. Robert Long, who had been long singing his praises over on Smash or Trash indie filmmaking long before I did. So really, they're the pioneers in terms of the Dohler. But I certainly did my part, and I'm still to this day a big fan of his films. Part of my Halloween 31 films of October was Blood Massacre, always is. I'm still a big fan. And basically, all the audience needs to know is you followed in that footstep. In other words, make movies locally. Make movies with your friends, family. Come up with some crazy ideas and just go do it, because it's far more exciting. And so you guys have made some monster movies. Matt, you went away and kind of made a satire stroke Woody Allen-esque comedy about your songwriting and your filmmaking and your creativity. And now you come back together. You've made Slingshot Cops. Charlie, why don't you give us the elevator pitch for Slingshot Cops?
Okay, a young cop and an old cop are an unlikely duo in this small town, and they are working on a illegal fireworks ring, which really bothers Matt Farley's character, Rusty Sinclair. And little do they know, there's something far more sinister and dangerous going on in their small town, and it's up to them and their friends to save the day. And where,
first of all, do you get your fantastic ideas from? What was the impetus behind this, which is, I think, something of a departure in a genre, but also a departure slightly as it's more of an out-and-out comedy. So, Farley, why don't you start? But what excited you, and what made you want to do something a little different?
It was Charlie's idea to do a buddy action movie with my uncle. Me and my uncle paired up. He proposed that to me, and I was instantly on board. And on that day, he said, and you could say, time to play things my way at some point. And I was like, yes, I'm in. And then in terms of we think Freaky Farley is hilarious from start to finish, but our humor is very very subtle. So a lot of people like it, and a lot of people like it for its horror elements more so than its funny elements, but we like it mostly for the funny elements. And I guess we just noticed that we weren't getting the big laugh. Like, we're cracking up in the back of the theater, and other people are just watching it with a straight face. So we're like, we're gonna have to be a little more overtly funny, because people don't agree with us about the other movies.
No, when I said that it was sort of more overtly comedic, I just think what you've added to this one is the parody, like the spoof element, because buddy cop films, I think, have more clear genre lines to spoof. Does that make any sense? Would you agree with that, Charlie?
Yes, I would. And I think that we work incredibly quickly. You filmed with us, so you know.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And that was a relaxed day.
It was the greatest honor of my life up until this point.
Yeah, and we didn't even film out the whole day. We got you back on the train when it was still light out.
We went and recorded a podcast. We filmed all morning and then went and recorded a roundtable podcast.
The creativity that day was intense.
It was. But, it was. Yeah.
I was going to say that we're more like a TV show than a movie because of the pace we film. And we're more like a TV show from the 60s or the 70s maybe, because I think I've heard people say the student film from now is like what Hollywood was doing in the 70s. That's how crazy the leap has been.
Right.
And people just have all these high expectations where really in some other media, like in music, you could make a garage band rock an album and it sounds really raw and people will listen to it. But if you do it with a movie, sometimes they have this hang up about it. They can't get over the fact that it's not super expensive.
Right.
But for us, we're more like a 70s. You go, Farley. Say what you want to say.
No, I'm just saying that's a great point. I haven't heard the garage band comparison, but it's totally true. You know, like we should have the garage bands are a thing. Garage movies aren't so much of a thing, but they can be and they should be.
You just have to have an open mind.
I agree completely, and I think that certainly, and you know, this might sound like I'm trying to be all highfalutin or something, but I'm just talking like how I watch things in the same way to how I listen to things, and also in the same way I pick who my favorite actors are or what my favorite book is or whatever. I'm always looking for, not even consciously, but I pick up on when something's authentic. And that's the same for garage bands as it is for, you know, the Rolling Stones or whatever, or as long as it's authentic. And I don't know how to define that authenticity. I can't really put that into words. I just know some people have it and some people don't have it. And sometimes I can see through it and sometimes I can't. And with you guys from day one, sitting down in my room to watch Freaky Farley and then immediately putting on Manch Vegas afterwards. And in fact, I think I even watched Freaky Farley a second time after Manch. Like, I think I just spent the whole day watching those two films. I was so drawn in by the fact that I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was you guys were doing, and I liked that. And I was completely charmed by the authenticity and the innocence of the kind of vibe of your films, the kind of Americana throwback vibe of your films, which all of them have. And things like production values and da-da-da-da-da, like that's never really bothered me. If I can watch the movie, understand the story it's telling, and enjoy the characters, that's all that should ever matter, whether you're watching it on if you go to see a kid's production, or not even a kid's, if you go see an amateur dramatics production so a summer stage production of Guys and Dolls, you go in going, I'm going to watch, you know, dentists and lawyers and doctors or whatever it is, play these characters from Guys and Dolls. I don't expect it to look like the Hollywood movie, because I know that that's Jeff Butcher up there and he's normally chopping meat, but because he likes musical theater, he does this on the weekends, right? So we go see it.
I love that. That is the best.
Right, it's amazing. And I grew up with that. My dad used to do orchestration for the local, what we in England call amateur dramatics, and I think you guys call like summer stock or something like that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know whether that's the same thing, but it's basically people in local towns get up on stage and go, "Hey, we're going to charge your local people $10 to come in and watch us perform Annie Get Your Gun or Oklahoma or pick your musical of choice." And we go in and we go, you know, if a line gets flubbed or if they forget a verse in a song or if the oboe is off key, people don't come out going, "Well, I thought that oboe was off key." They go, "Didn't they do a great job?" Because they're your friends and family. Well, then why don't people look at movies that way? You know what I mean? Like, movies should be looked at the same way.
With production value, you can waste so many precious minutes trying to convince people that you're a real movie that you forget to just be yourself and be your own movie.
Yes.
And have fun. I see that all the time now because it's inexpensive to get a drone that you can fly and get these high wide shots and moving shots. So everyone's like, I can do what the big movies do. So I'm going to convince them I'm a real movie. So you've got all these shots flying around of the drone. What about your movie? Do your thing. I mean, you're trying to do second rate of what the real Hollywood movie's doing. And which is good. Hollywood movies do their thing, but do your thing.
Yes.
Just trying to spend all this time convincing. It's like in the 90s, they wanted to convince people that they had a good lighting and a good set. So they put the spinning exhaust fan with the light coming through it and the smoke.
Yes.
And it's like, this means that we're a real movie. We've got the fan, we got the smoke. And it turns out completely dated the movie and didn't really do much for it even at the time. It's just, you're just filling what you think you're supposed to do.
I think the ones I object to the most are the post-Grindhouse, when Tarantino and Rodriguez did those Grindhouse movies. And so there was a rash of independent movies after, like, Hobo with a Shotgun and stuff, where it was like, we'll put a nun on a motorbike with her breasts hanging out and a shotgun and a chainsaw, and she's going to fight an alien on top of a truck in the middle. And I'm like, all right, look. just because Robert Rodriguez did it doesn't mean that you can do it with the same kind of success,
We're in the 70s. Like, that's so far past what we're even thinking about.
Right.
I think 70s TV movies, and with this cop thing, there's this show called Macmillan and Wife, which was a 70s, like, very light, and the pilot of that has an amazing chase scene, which is a little bit of an influence on your scene, John, and Farley chasing you.
Right.
With really funny inserts of Rock Hudson and a stunt double, and it involves like a 10-speed bike through the hills of San Francisco, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It is by turns exciting, completely fake, funny, all that stuff mixed in one, and I really like it. And I think what's lost on some people is the delight in seeing something that doesn't look that real, but is just done completely in camera.
Yes.
I don't want to feel like Rock Hudson was getting hurt or anyone was getting hurt in this chase. I just want it to be cutting together kind of funny, and entertaining.
And also, I think this is the thing, is that if everyone is trying to make a good movie, so everyone is doing their best to make a good movie, no one is on set going, it's just a shitty independent movie, so let's not put our best in. Every single one of your actors, and every single time that you're behind the camera, Charlie, and the crew and the soundtrack and everything, you're all trying 100%, 110% to make the best film you can make. It comes out as a Charlie and Farley production, and the audience knows what to expect, and it's fantastic, and it's inventive, and it's funny, and all those things. If other people sneer at it, that is because they have become cynical and ironic hipsters who can't watch something with a wide-eyed, open-minded joy, and they can't see the passion and the hard work and the long days and the energy and effort that goes into it, And it's like when people laugh at Don's films, Alien Factor or Galaxy Invader, and those riff track people. I get it. People like riff tracks and stuff. I'm like, no. I'm anti-riff tracks. Riff tracks are my Tom Petty, Matt. That's the way I look at it. I'm anti-riff tracks.
Yeah, because it's so hard to make a movie. What he was doing just to make one of the Alien Factor monster costumes would consume your life for maybe a month, if not more, and a lot of your finances. Yeah. That is an achievement that if you haven't tried something like that, you wouldn't even begin to be able to grasp how that upsets your life.
I'd like to say something too. You mentioned the Grindhouse, and I've said this before, I'm sure, but in Grindhouse, they at least in the theatrical release, I know they had a moment where like they pretend the reel is missing, that it got damaged. You guys remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like when I was watching it, I was like, well, they should have just filmed it the way we did it, and then and also they had like fake damage, like fake film damage throughout the movie. They digitally damaged the picture. Yeah, and it's. Instead of spending money to digitally damage it and then inserting a fake missing reel, they should have just made the movie the way we make our movies and tried as hard as they can, and it would have ended up happening. They would end up losing a reel, and they would end up with damaged film, and it would be so much more charming than faking it in post.
Oh yeah, completely, 100%. I think
they shouldn't have touched digital to really do that authentically.
Tribute. Yeah, we were doing a real Grindhouse tribute when those guys, they're great. I'm sorry, I don't mean.
But they are good too. But it just because we've made movies, so I don't want to. Anybody who's made a movie, I'm so appreciative of their work.
Of course,
it it should have been a lot more of all. Well, Tarantino's was mostly in camera stuff. I think almost all those chase scenes are amazing, and I can't discount that. But
yeah, but he also spends 2/3 of that movie circling a table full of people saying absolutely nothing of any interest to anybody.
Yeah, but at least there's no digital. That sometimes to me is preferable than seeing a lot of digital like explosions and stuff.
Oh no, at least no one's fighting a 500-story Tyrannosaurus Rex or something. No, I completely agree. But so anyway, so the listeners know, like, you guys' films, they're authentic, they're homemade. You put your family and friends in the films. So. And I love that it would be Macmillan and Wife meets Fiend. That's the tagline to Slingshot.
I've watched every episode of Macmillan and Wife and every episode of Murder, She Wrote. So when you get used to the way they do their coverage, they do it in a way that's fast.
Yeah.
And in focus. And sometimes we have to do that way, and hopefully the thing that's free for us is the dialogue and the good actors, you know, doing their thing.
So what's the dynamic when you two guys, either on Skype or in person, sit down and write it? Because I know you guys co-write stuff. What's the dynamic? Farley, you start off, mate. What's the dynamic of the screenwriting duo?
It used to be that we would brainstorm together for the first... for Freaky Farley and Manch Vegas and River Beast, we'd brainstorm together, get a the general idea down. Then I would write the first draft and send it to him, and then he would write the second draft and send it back to me, and then together we'd fine-tune it. And then now with Slingshot Cops, we just, rather than me doing a draft and him doing a draft, we would get on Skype for an hour every week when Charlie was living in L.A., and just with a Google Doc, we'd have Skype open and a Google Doc, and we'd just, type out each line as we were discussing it, and that's the best method by far, for sure.
We finish each other's sentences when we're typing. I mean, it's all over the place. It's like madness for an hour of he could change my words, I'll change his words a little bit, and then you finish that guy's line at the bottom while my cursor's at the top of the screen typing the other guy's line, and then we try to leave off at a point where we're like, okay, that'll be an exciting, fun place to pick up. And next week,
I think the big inspiration that because a lot of people who listen to this show and a lot of our friends, equally do kind of creative things. But the thing that I'm always inspired by you guys is that you put it down on paper and then you put it down on film. Like, you actually go ahead and do it. And I know that sounds, people go, well, of course, but that's putting it down on paper is the hardest part for me anyway, to think about. Like the things that I've done where I'm filming or I'm acting or whatever. Yeah, that's a lot of hours, and it's a lot of walking around. It's a lot of corralling people in the place and, endlessly shooting and stuff. But the actual creative part that's the hardest is actually sort of putting it down on a blank piece of paper. And the fact that the two of you are able to sit there for an hour on Skype and kind of, throw something at the wall until it sticks kind of thing is very inspirational.
It helps to have somebody to keep you honest and like, hey, Farley's going to be on Skype. He's very precise. He's a little more timely than I am, but he'll be on Skype at 7:55 if we're talking at 8 or 7:50, and I know right. I have to run around and shove dinner in my mouth and walk the dog and get on really quick because we gotta keep each other honest and live up to what the other's expecting. So.
And when you're working through that first draft, are you both personalities that can allow mess? In other words, kind of getting that first draft down is kind of throwing everything at the paper until it all kind of is on the paper, and then the second draft, or at least the second kind of rewrite, tends to be kind of shoving it all into place and ordering it and making it look pretty. Can you cope with that mess the first time through, or do you kind of clean up as you go?
Well, I mean, we try to clean up as we go when we remember to, but I remember specifically for this one, the characters of Vance and Eldon, played by Brendan and Randy. The early on, they were much more like confrontational, and as we were writing, they turned into like hippies who like to hug people. So When we then went through for the second time, Charlie, do you remember like looking at one of those scenes? We're like, oh man, this is
totally different guy. Yeah, the personality.
Totally rewrite this scene because they're like yelling at me and I'm yelling at them. So and then I get to write it where they're hugging me.
Well, that's what's genius about the film. I mean, not wanting to spoil it for anyone, but in a normal, I'm thinking of that great Emilio Estevez, Charlie Sheen film, Men at Work, where they are warring garbage men, and they have another duo who are the incompetent garbage men who keep trying to catch out Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen, who are like the knockabout, roguish garbage men. And each time their pranks backfire and attack them instead of attacking Sheen and Estevez. And it's a great kind of... And Brendan and Randy are sort of at the beginning because, you know, Brendan is dating Matt's or Rusty's ex-girlfriend. And so that conflict is set up. But the wonderful... And normally, a normal movie would play out and then Matt and his ex would be back together and Brendan would be either... arrested or humiliated or, you know, whatever, covered in manure or something like Biff Tannen from Back to the Future. But instead, at the end of your movie, everyone is happy. And actually, it doesn't matter that Rusty has a love story or not, because he doesn't really. I mean, he might end up with Sharon, he might not. He might just end up hanging out with Pippi the rest of his life. And it doesn't matter, because that's no longer the story. Both Brendan's willingness to help and improve the situation in order to get rid of Sensefoot wins over any personal desire for any one individual, which is kind of beautiful and wonderful.
Yeah, I would hope that, when someone watches it, they would get that feeling that you said. Like, you get this gentle feeling that I haven't really seen that before. This is the way that the movie should go, or usually goes, with the manure angle or something like that.
Right.
But I would hope that this little wrinkle, the little like, okay, here's a different take on it. That not everybody's fighting, and
it's heartwarming and nice. I like it.
Go with it, because there's plenty of other movies that don't do that. So you got.
In fact, I would say one of the things that you guys do, and it may just be a product of. And I don't mean to be. I don't want this to sound negative, but like it may be a product of Matt or whoever's playing the hero, not as an actor wanting to be like physical with another person, even to a kiss or anything. But like you don't really have love stories in your films, even in Freaky Farley, where everyone seems to sort of be interested in Farley. There aren't really, or even in Local Legends, for example, where Sharon is sort of very interested in Farley. There isn't. There aren't like big sweeping love stories. I guess Manch Vegas has one, right? But that's about it, isn't it?
But it's so over the top that...
Right. But in terms of like the traditional romance, because what do you notice about every Hollywood movie, whether it's an action movie, a drama, a horror film, a science fiction film, whatever, a man and a woman have to be attracted to each other. Right?
Yeah.
That's like in every movie. Even in all these superhero movies, they've always got like their woman who isn't the superhero. Like the women are never the superheroes. The women are like, nurses or lawyers or stay-at-home mums or whatever, or teachers. And the superhero men get to fly around in tights and save the world and then come back to the picket fence. And you guys don't have that. You're like, romance is the least interesting thing anymore in movies. What's actually interesting is all this other stuff, and I think that's also refreshing.
I think we know that we aren't able to sell it very well either. Probably, like it's like I don't want to kiss someone on camera, and I don't want to ask anyone else to kiss on camera. That's uncomfortable and awkward,
Right. And I wondered if it was a product of that, or whether you were. Like
it's a product of everything. It's a product of everything. I mean, you get this feeling that we can't do that. It's just it, and then you know who's going to be able to film with you, and you know what's going to feel right when you're watching it with your family and friends, because ultimately that's who we're making it for.
Yeah.
Really. So that it's all those things, but it's almost we don't talk about those kind of things. They just are.
They just happen. And I think
but we did note at some point that Rusty doesn't have a love interest, in that it's okay, and it's kind of freeing to just.
Yeah, that's true.
It's an action. It's a buddy cop movie. I mean, what do we need to insert this thing for? And it's kind of it's cool to have, instead of Rusty winning the girl, for him to just accept that the girl's gone and be cool with it. That's pretty neat. And something, it's still some kind of development.
And what I love again about your scripts and about your ideas is they seem very free and they seem very stream of consciousness. Like the idea that in the film, you make the leap to have a supernatural element to the villain, but then, and again, without wanting to spoil too much, there is then a otherworldly element to your buddy cop duo at a certain point. That's not really giving anything away, but you know what I'm talking about.
Well said.
And you sort of just go with it. You're just like, well, this is going to happen, and this is how it is, and there's no sort of real big explanation of it. You don't delve into anything that would be conflicting for people of different faiths, let's just say, and you just put stuff out there where you're like, well, it's sort of like a Christmas story, or like something you would just see on TV and just take for granted. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and I kind of love that about it.
If it's not fun, it really, we try to let it not make the cut, And really, when I say that, I just mean even in the writing. We would think of that like a year before we started filming, because we don't end up with a lot of extra footage or anything. So it would just be through that process of talking about it back and forth. At any moment, Farley could email me, I could email him with something that we're going to film 2 or 3 years from then. And it just goes into the back burner. And
we were doing it yesterday. Well, before the premiere, we were popping ideas back and forth from the next movie, and just talking about what ideas are currently just not sitting right with us, and ways we can.
It's just this weird feeling you get that it's not right yet, and then we just have to keep talking and talking. And usually on a long walk is the best, but that's where, if we could do more long walks, there would be a lot more movies. I mean, we can't really film them if we also made money on the movies, but.
Well, that's the thing. And the next one is going to be Hootenanny Hideout. Is that what it's called, or are we not announcing that yet? I can cut that out.
Horror at the Hootenanny Hideaway.
Nice. I love that. That's got a great... You should... you really need to, I think, put the word massacre in that title somewhere.
We talked about the title a lot. I have sort of a pet interest in young investigators' mysteries.
Right.
Like the Hardy Boys, and there's this other one called The Three Investigators.
I used to read those
too, right?
What's that, Matt?
Hardy Boys, yeah, all those things. I have a pet interest in all those.
What about Harrington House, right, Charlie? Harrington House?
The Haunting at Harrington House. Yeah, there's always a beautiful. It's like something in the Whispering Cave, or the Screeching Owl. It's the haunted at the way the Hootenanny Hideaway. It's just like those kind of titles.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just think I would. I have a thing about, because I see horror at the Hootenanny Hideout, right? Hideaway. Horror at the Hootenanny Hideaway as like a VHS cover, because I see all your movies as like VHS covers, but this one,
it's like Terror at 10 Killer. At 10 Killer. That's the right.
This one has a particular, more than any of the others. This one has. Oh well, no, don't let the River Beast get you. That has like a good VHS-y feel to it. But like, the horror at Hootenanny Hideaway massacre. Like if it just had, it needs that, because they would stick on VHS things, because I did that article about movies with the word massacre in the title, which I'm fascinated by. They would stick massacre on the end of a movie title just to sell it. And in fact, recently a movie came out called The Windmill in the US, and in Holland and in the UK, it was made in Holland, but in the UK it was released as The Windmill Massacre, and the US distribution took the word massacre off, and I'm like, that's your mistake. The movie will not sell in the US now without the word massacre on it. If it was The Windmill Massacre, that's so much a better title than The Windmill, which just sounds like you're going to sit down and watch some sort of Dutch drama about clog making, you know?
we have so much freedom because the movie's not going to sell either way. So if we wanted to put massacre in or not, it doesn't matter. And that's the benefit of doing it just ourselves with no one to answer to. If we want to, we do it. If not, no. I mean, there's no distributor.
It's so great to not have to answer to anybody, and people
they can't do any worse than they've done. I think, so we just go with it.
Yeah, and people give us suggestions sometimes, and when they do, it's I'll listen to them, of course, but it's so nice to know like they're not my boss, and it doesn't matter, and it's like, oh, right. What a great feeling.
And it's also funny actually because as a creative person and as a friend of you guys, I want to be like, hey, why don't you do this and do that? And here's an idea and and put this in and this name and da-da. But actually, as a fan of yours and your films, I want it to be as much just you and Charlie and Farley as much as possible. Like, I don't want anybody else's influence in there because you guys have been knocking it out of the park, and you guys have been making the movies that we love. And yes, the casts have got bigger, and yes, there's more kind of people from different diverse parts of the country and all the rest of it in the movies now, where there wasn't before in the same way. But that shouldn't change anything. Like, that should we like the way it was. There's a reason why we love Freaky Farley. Just keep doing what you're doing because it's awesome. That's all I'm saying from that.
We just do our best. Yeah, it'd be distracting if someone like all of a sudden wanted to be in the movie. You wouldn't be able to follow the story anymore. It would be like, oh, there's X, this famous, some name or something. It would be distracting, and it would help to get it out there, but we would have to be doing something that wasn't completely 100% true to the project.
I mean, that being said, if Tom Hanks wants to be in our movie,
yeah,
we'll do it.
I know, but it would be untrue to the movie. And
I don't know. If Tom Hanks wanted to be in the movie, he would know what he was getting into, I think, and we wouldn't do anything differently. I wouldn't, I could see us not doing anything differently. Charlie?
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, he would have to work on the movie for 10 minutes, and you and I would work on it for 2 years, and then everyone would just say, "Oh, that's the Tom Hanks."
I know,
no budget movie.
That would be so great
if they bought it, maybe. But if they didn't, if no one bought it, and I would just be like, "Oh, I sat in front of the computer for a year for them to say, oh, that Tom."
Yeah,
but what you do.
Otherwise, they say nothing. They don't even know the movie exists. Otherwise,
Well, Jon Cross is talking to us.
Cross is going to know either way, and he's going to like it.
Yeah, and I think Farley, you're very right picking Tom Hanks because he is the least cynical.
Yeah, he's got
actors.
Good humor, and he seems like he was in He Knows You're Alone. So I mean, it's coming back to his roots. Tom, you're in.
Tom Hanks.
Not to call people up, but like George Lucas, like in interviews, he's always like, now it's time for me to make my smaller personal movies, but he never does. It's like,
no.
What are you waiting for, George?
Yeah.
Like George could literally go in his back garden and film his kids like, I don't know, fighting with a beach ball, and that would make $1 billion if he released it tomorrow.
Yeah, I like how Coppola kind of did that in the last 10, 15 years. He kind of just was like whatever and made those kind of crazy.
That's true.
I can't even think of the titles off the top of my head, but I like that a lot because he's a big name and
put his money where his mouth is, kind of.
He totally did, and he's kind of done that his whole career. So that's a guy who's kind of done it. He's been in the big studio system, but still, I mean, What are those? What's the movie? I can't even remember the names of them, but you know what I'm talking about.
Well, Coppola fought this. Like Coppola set up his own studio, even when the studios were nabbing Spielberg and Lucas and Scorsese and stuff, and giving them money. He tried to set up Zoetrope, his own studios, and he made Apocalypse Now, and then he made One from the Heart, which bankrupted him. Like he put all his own money into that, which was this huge, big, lavish Vegas musical with Tom Waits music and everything else. And that basically bankrupted him. And he had to do a couple of those movies like Dracula and Jack and a couple of the others to sort of make money back again because he really didn't have anything else. But no, right up until the mid-'80s, he was sort of putting his money where his mouth was, I think, for most of it. But
he started doing it again after he made enough money from Jack and A Time to Kill and all those things in the 2000s. He went back to this. He's probably bankrupting.
He's good. The stress and pressure on those guys doing those big projects is beyond what we can comprehend almost.
But on a micro scale, I mean, we have
we have a lot of stuff we're doing, but
stuff
it's
that we're juggling. It's crazy, and trying to not let the movie consume you to the point where you're other parts of your life are being damaged by it. We have to periodically remind ourselves none of this matters and it's fine. Who cares?
Yeah,
because
and
of course, you're all married. Matt, you've got kids. Tom's got kids. Like, it's all happening now in terms of like life and stuff, and that can stop it sometimes.
Yeah, Charlie was in the process of buying a house in the middle of film. Remember, we were scanning documents
it was unbelievable. You know what I was gonna say too? This is a little unrelated, but just when people are filming, and this is what John was saying before, when Farley is filming like an action scene, do like Farley and don't go too over the top if you're filming a small movie, and be safe, because people say like film is forever, but really is more people are more important. I totally feel that, and that's the way we film. So I don't know why I was just thinking that, but
like any time where like the universe hates anyone who tries to do something.
You're trying to make your own mini world. Yeah, something's gonna go wrong. Alarms are gonna go off.
Everything will go wrong.
Except that, of course, you look at something like The Evil Dead, and the story behind the making of the movie is almost as iconic, if not more so, than the movie itself. So the people who were hurt, the makeup effects that like took people's eyebrows off, and almost scratched people's retinas with the thick contact lenses, and having to build that cabin from scratch and scrape off the manure from the cabin floor, and people having to sleep in the cabin overnight because people were looting and stealing their tools, and like all that kind of stuff. Rural Tennessee having the harshest winter, whereas Michigan had a soft winter, and they should have really filmed in Michigan. All that stuff goes into kind of the making of the movie, and kind of has stuck that mythology of like three guys in Michigan who bought cheap suits and convinced car dealers to give them money to go make their movie. Kind of has carried that movie to some extent.
I'd trade that mythological story for sparing someone's eyebrow from being burned.
Yeah, keep people safe. But what they achieved on Evil Dead is also through the roof. Yeah, I don't even. I mean, it's one of the greatest. It's so iconic, and you can't compare it to anything. When it came out, it's still ahead of its time. Practically, it is unbelievable. The technical quality, and
it also you put it like, in other words, for the way you make movies, the effort and the time and the energy you guys put in is not in those things like stunts and makeup effects and all that kind of stuff. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into other aspects of it, right? Just setting aside the time you need to, the length of time you shoot, the less hours you have to sleep every day, the fact that you cram it all into a small amount of time, the editing time, Charlie, you had with also buying a house and all the rest of it. Like, you put all that into it, and we get out your creative speed it results in that movie, and Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell's creative speed results in that movie, and neither one is better nor the other. It's just the end result. It reflects the personalities of the people who go into it. You know what I mean? And Sam Raimi, by all accounts, beats the hell out of people. That's kind of his sense of humor and his work ethic. And that's not you guys. Like I've always said, like, innocence is a word that I use about your movies, because I don't think you have that respect for humanity, you have that respect for actors, you have that respect for like the shooting environment and things like that, and then that leads to a friendlier, sweeter, more unifying film. It's not harsh, it's not angry, it's not aggressive.
And everyone who's in the movie is doing it for free. Maybe we're giving them a little gas money, or we're feeding them, we're giving them a meal. But, I mean, they're doing us a huge favor, and it's like always be grateful that they're doing it, and always be happy with whatever they do, whatever their performance is perfect, and it's wonderful, And even if it's not how we wrote it, it's like, well, it's good in a different way, and frankly, we're in no position to expect anything other than what we get, and it's a fun thing to do when you write a script for years, and then it's a roll of the dice. Just the people are going to bring to it whatever they bring, and we just take it, and it's kind of fun to just leave that up to chance.
Yeah, completely, definitely, I agree. So I was going to say though, let us in the last few minutes here, let's try and build a mythology behind the making of this movie, and talk about behind the scenes a little bit. Let's talk about, we talked about your writing and your intentions and your creativity and so on, but what are your memories, I guess, your 3 or 4 key either funny and or negative memories of the actual shooting? Charlie, you go first.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about just the first day of filming with you and Jim Wallace. So we have Farley driving down from Massachusetts, car full of stuff. And when you're going to film, you better have your list together, because if you forget it, you're in big trouble. And we have no one who is doing any other departments. There's no props, there's no special effects people, there's no makeup, there's no script supervisor, there's nothing. So Farley's doing like 10 jobs, I'm doing 10 jobs roughly, or we're each doing all of them. But so he's driving down from Massachusetts. You guys are coming up on the train from New York. We've got Kyle coming from a nearby town. We have 3 other extras who live in, I think, various cities, but have a Connecticut connection coming together. We have Derek coming on a train, has to do a transfer. He's coming all the way to small town Seymour on the train. All these elements were just kicked off by us, writing this buddy cop movie and saying we're filming this scene in Seymour. So we show up on the street unannounced into an alley that's a working alley where a hobo could hang out if he were so inclined. Yeah. And life is just going on there. We just set up a tripod and we say, okay, Farley, you're walking here. All you guys who came from all over and all your different cities, your background actors going here, and go. And then we just kept filming, angles, and went. But I just like that aspect of all these people coming together, descending on this little Main Street town, busting out all of our shots, and that was our day. So that was a good one. That was a good memory of a lot of things actually went right that day. It didn't rain. We didn't get yelled at.
No, there was one guy poked his face out of the back of the shop or something and said, what are you guys doing or whatever? And we said, oh, we're filming. And he was like, great, no worries. And then there was the heat, that damnable heat, and me having to apply massive amounts of sun cream because I'm, my skin is practically translucent and European.
I'm with you. And the sun was creeping overhead, so the shadow in the alley was changing. And we didn't have, like a real movie, they would have some silks or something up there to diffuse everything, but we just have the little handheld one. So only the actor's immediate face and shoulders gets the sun knocked off them. But that was a cool day.
And we had to keep, we would do our lines, 2 or 3 lines, and then I would step into the shade. And I would only go in the sun and deal with the sun, which was, this alleyway was probably wide enough that I could put my hand on both sides, but not much wider than that. Like, it really wasn't. It's about a 2person width standing. Oh,
yeah. A ninja could scale up that if he were so inclined.
Definitely. And today that we're recording this is Ninja Day. So apparently it's International Day of the Ninja today. So,
and I was you were an action star in that movie too, because not only were you hot, but you, Kyle, and Jim had to run, and you had to run across the street. You had to run up the stairs and over this bridge. And when we were filming that, I was on the sidewalk looking at the camera, and I just thought, this is cool. This is like seeing you do your kind of walk, and Kyle reaches out and half taps a truck that's going by, and just I don't know, just right there. It was a wide shot, and you guys all coordinated. It was a good memory.
Yeah, well, I had chosen my idiocy was such that I had chosen to do a run that was also comedic, which actually takes a lot more effort than just running. So that was bad. I'm also wearing all denims, which is not a breathable fabric. And secondly, in my brain, I'm still 16 because I made all my kind of like knockabout movies, filming with friends in backyards, doing stupid stunts, rolling off the hoods of cars and, jumping down into lakes and things like that when I was about 16 to 22. Like, that was my prime. And I still have in the back of my head of like, oh, I can still do those things. Like, it's fine.
That's magic.
I'm still
that's
made
magic there.
Right. But what it meant was, and I remember this more the second time we shot when I came back and did that one chase sequence, the montage in the middle, is that getting to the top of those, with the best will in the world, getting to the top of those stairs on the bridge that crosses the train tracks and sitting with Farley and going, yeah, I can't do that again. Like, if he wants us to do that again, I'm not sure that I can physically, do it, because I was bounding up those stairs. And Farley and I sat there in the dappled shade from the tree, and were both breathing. Well, I was certainly breathing heavily and feeling the effects.
Oh, I got a photo of you guys doing that. Maybe I'll share that with you. I don't know if I gave that to you.
So,
Farley,
I
got a photo of you two sitting there.
We do, yeah. Do you have a memory, Farley, of shooting it, or any particular thing that you're either pleased about or just something that sticks in the memory?
Yeah. Well, first, adding to what Charlie said. It's pretty cool. The lesson of that day of filming is, like, if you want to do something, you just do it. You pick the date that it's going to happen, and you recruit the people, and you tell them to meet you there, and you show up with your equipment, and you just do it. And well, the real miracle that day was that every one of them showed up too. That's a rare moment that everyone who said they'd be there was there, and everyone was gung ho and happy. It was pretty magical. Beyond that, Charlie and I, before filming, he shows up with his truck so that we could go to a secondhand store and buy a bunch of old desks. That was fun, just walking through all these old furniture, this giant warehouse, and we're just picking out random stuff. Like, all right, that's a sewing table, but it could pass as a policeman's desk, probably, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a sewing table is cheaper than a desk, it turns out. So that's why Rusty Sinclair has this really weird desk.
And and turning the garage into a police station, and just realizing how with each time we added a new element to that set, it just made the rest of the set stick out even more for not having any elements, and it was a lot of work. And we barely dressed that set, but we ran into it the whole time, just like we do with the actors. Like, all right, we'll do the best we can until we reach the date when we said we'd start filming, and then we just have to start filming because we said we would. And otherwise, you would spend 3 years decorating the set, and you'd never have a movie, So we make these deadlines and we just do it. And then actual filming, it was just, the hardest day by far was a Sunday of Columbus weekend, and we had 10 to 15 people in my house. It's all the backyard scenes in the grand finale were filmed that day. But also, it was the only day we had Brendan and Randy, so we filmed them in a park doing their campaign. Then we brought them back to the house. We filmed them in the living room. We filmed in the backyard. Then after we were finished with everybody in the backyard, we kept them around to do stuff in the garage and more stuff in the living room. And it was a very ambitious day. Just so many people around, trying to keep everybody fed and happy, and keep everyone's schedules together. McGee had to, in his contract, he had to be home in time to see the Patriots game at 4 p.m. So here we are doing the movie that we've been years preparing for. We write him a script. He gets to be a superstar actor, and he's like, well, I got to leave by 3:20 because kickoff is 4:25, and it takes an hour. So, it's hilarious and crazy and intense, and I think that day took several years off our lives, but it was a good accomplishment.
But it also shows, I was going to use the comparison, something like Brendan and Randy showing up to do a day's work. First of all, that's awesome of them. That's amazing. They came all the way over from California to do that. That's just incredible. But on top of that, you used them so judiciously. You really did. When you watch the film, the audience won't believe that they did that all in one day. And you did what I like to call Donald Pleasencing, which is, I read recently that Donald Pleasance, on all the Halloween movies that he's in, only ever shot for 3 days. So they only ever filmed him for 3 days because they weren't paying him anything. I think on the first Halloween movie, like he made, a few thousand or whatever. Like Carpenter didn't have a lot of money on that first one, and he only came in for 3 days. But you think of Halloween and you think of Pleasance being throughout the film because they use him so judiciously. Like 10, 15 minutes don't go by without you cutting back to Pleasance doing something, because at the time, now Jamie Lee Curtis is now the draw, but like obviously back then Pleasance was the name, to everyone in horror. Donald Pleasance was like one of those, he wasn't quite Hammer horror, but he was of that British kind of thing, because Christopher Lee was going to play the part and then Pleasance took it in the end. So and what you did with Brendan and Randy was exactly the same. Like, I watched that film, and those characters are throughout. They're in it as much as McGee and Milhouse G are almost, and certainly as much as your character is, Charlie. And they really fit into the film, and the way you judiciously put them together in throughout the movie really sells their characters, really sells their part in the film, and I thought they were fantastic in it. And the other comment I had to make was, I know, you said, like, it's just the garage and we just painted it and we did what we did. The police station looks amazing. Like, for an independent movie, the police station looks amazing. Like, you have 2 whole full rooms, and you can film it from lots of different angles and lots of different desks, and everyone knows where everything is, and you don't film it in such a way that the space gets muddled, because, like, people don't know, but, like, if you cross the line, or if you put the camera in a wrong place during a scene, you can muddle the space in the audience's mind. Well, with a very small space, like just a garage working as a studio, you covered that and did coverage for that, and even when you had to like cut in the Brendan and Randy footage with Elizabeth, that's obviously filmed on a separate occasion, that it all matched, it all fit, it was all fantastic. You did really great work with both those things. So even if it took years off your life, deal with it.
I just want to add, like, when you're doing that, it's like this puzzle piece. You're like, all right, we have this much time. We can grab these shots, grab those shots. What are we going to do about the fact that Sharon isn't here for this entire day of filming, but she's in several of the scenes? And it's definitely a puzzle and like problem solving activity to figure out how you're going to do it. And I think Charlie edits it together seamlessly, so that like I'm watching the movie, sometimes I forget that I wasn't actually with the actor in the scene I'm watching. That's how smooth it works for me. It
works really nicely when Sharon gives high fives to you and Tom, and it turns out that she wasn't there with Tom. But it's just there's something about the continuing action there, and just the cut of it that and her eye line. And Sharon is just on point. She just is unnatural. So having her giving looks to other people, all that stuff that she does is just, when you're editing, it's just perfect. It just goes right in.
Well, everyone in the film is amazing. I mean, obviously, I'm always watching.
And Farley too. Yeah, everything Farley does is he's so easy as an editor, and you don't realize it until you get into the movie later. I'm sorry to cut you off, John.
No. I was just going to give you more praise, but like all the actors in the film, especially your regulars, like what I think of as your core cast, all fantastic in the film. I mean, Chris Peterson is incredible in the movie. McGee is on another level in this movie, like just incredible in this movie. Mr. Farley, Farley Senior is incredible in the film as always. Even Jim McHugh stepped up, and we've joked in the past that he kind of does one line and then asks for the next line and does the next line and so on and so forth. But in this, like, he seemed, I don't know what it was like on set, you'll have to tell us, but like he seemed like he was having just so much fun with the role and loved doing it and really enjoyed having, like, he just seemed to be having a ball. Was he loving it being a much bigger part on this film?
Well, he was more focused than ever. I mean, he was when we weren't filming, he'd just go off in the corner and just open up his copy of the script and just be staring at it. And, I mean, he'd show up early, show up whenever we asked him to. I mean, I just call him up like, can you be in Derry, New Hampshire at 8 a.m. on Sunday? He's like, yeah, sure. And I mean, it's so nice for him. He has to drive an hour to New Hampshire, and go foot to foot with Kevin McGee, barefoot to barefoot. So,
he was so happy the whole time, just like you're saying, John. He was smiling the whole time. He was so nice, and it just comes out in the movie, and it makes everybody happier around him. Yeah,
we were cracking
He's so
up.
funny, so happy.
The surprise scenes at the end where the supernatural element comes in, I was in tears laughing so hard with him delivering some of those lines.
He's amazing. He's incredible. And his scene
better than the angels in heaven. I love that moment.
his scene with Pippi in that scenario. Let's just say, just tremendous. I mean, it's everyone brought their A game to that. I mean, they always do, but this one felt really, certainly in the performances, felt really strong and really great, and we really loved that. And little things like when McHugh faces off with McGee. I don't know if I may have cheered in the screening. I wasn't trying to do too much noise in the screening because I just wanted to be respectful. But that bit where he uses his slingshot to hit the pot and it hits McGee on the head, I wanted to stand up and applaud at that point. That's how much I love McHugh and him being in that movie and the role he's playing. So
for people who make their own movies, I would say this too. With McHugh, you don't use the word a good actor, because that's so confining, I feel, or whatever. You just say, is that person an entertaining actor, or are they going to bring something to the movie? And that's kind of the people that we think of. If you meet somebody and you're like, oh, that person could be an entertaining actor. They're going to deliver some entertainment on the screen. It's not, I don't want to necessarily even always see someone who's a good actor, because some of the emotions that a good actor brings are too much for everything else that's going on. And also they're too much for a light entertainment that's meant to be diverting. Because Farley and I work so hard to make a diverting entertainment for our family and friends that ages 5 to 100 can watch. And you don't want to overwhelm them. If someone can do really sad crying scene, that would totally take the movie off the rails because it's too much of a quote unquote good acting. But this is just entertaining acting and right for our feel.
I still say that Matt has some moments of true sadness and passion and anger, and when you started to destroy the police station, I was both with you as but then also laughing. It was
we were so worried about the budget.
Necessary, yeah.
I didn't see it coming at all.
We kind of foolishly
destruction.
Yeah, and we foolishly did it. After we did it, we're wait, we need to film in here more scenes that take place before the destruction. We had to put the piece the lamp back together. And I cut my hand too. Remember, Charlie? I was very dramatic about that.
It was dramatic, but it did feel like we should be more careful. That's out of our league because our budget for props and set decoration is basically zero. So,
but it's a surprising moment. It's a surprising moment in the film. You're watching the film, you're like, "This is great," da 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 da, and suddenly Farley's tearing the set asunder, and I was like, "That's incredible."
I like my, not to harp on how great I am, but my graveside chat, I really enjoyed that one where I'm screaming, yelling at the grave.
Yeah,
that's good. It's a lot of good emotions all at once.
Yeah, we had a lot of laughs that day. I did, at least. Tom and Charlie were on the other side of the camera, probably just oh man, when's he gonna stop?
No, it's an unbridled success, gentlemen, and anytime you speak to anyone from the film, tell them that the After Movie Diner just loves it. Because we do. It's incredible. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show as well. I know that we have a question on Twitter from Odilon Green or Odilon Green, or however you pronounce it, Seth, the wonderful Seth. So let's see if we can get that question answered, and then we will call it a night, I think. But let's first... okay, so the question from Odilon Green is... and it's two-parter, but I'm going to ask it all in one thing, and then you guys can vamp on it. If someone gave Motown Media and Shock Marathons $500,000, would they still make a goofy film or try to be more polished? Or indeed, would you even want to go big budget at all, or would you take the $500,000 and make lots of small films if given the choice?
That's a good one. Charlie, do you have something or what?
Yeah, my gut tells me more money, more problems, as they say.
Listen, here's what we're gonna do. First off, Charlie and I are just taking $150,000 each. All right, we're just putting it in our bank accounts.
Well, I was going to say, Farley, first of all, Elizabeth is getting a swimming pool. First of all, Elizabeth is getting a swimming pool, number one, before anything.
Backyard, and then we'll write that into the next script.
Right.
And then, we would buy better equipment, spend $10,000-$20,000 on brainstorm on what we need. I mean, like, just any lights. Like essentially the only lights we have are just what's in the room, like the lamp in the room. So
well, Chris Peterson let us borrow some lights, which saved.
Which is amazing.
Movie.
Yeah, I know.
It's literally saved this movie. We had no lights.
We'd buy those lights off of him. But I could see us buying equipment just to make the operation smoother, and then putting money in the bank so that we could actually afford the time to make more movies, and then just basically make more of the same level, just slightly more professional, because we just get a little bit more better equipment. But I wouldn't want to sink it all into one movie. You, Charlie?
No, I wouldn't. And I think of, because you have all your eggs in one basket. It's not as fun, and there's too much. The onus on that one movie is so much. Like when Corman was, or even like all the movies that were distributed by AIP, when they're coming out with so many movies per year, I feel like those are really fun. That's the kind of movie that I want to watch, and just having more variety, or even like serials, like old 1930s Batman or stuff like that. It's just so fast and fun the way they're making them, that there's not as much weight on one. It's more like making an album than just making like a big single or something. You've got all these different. You could do many different tracks by doing like 6 movies.
Right.
It's instead of just doing.
It's like
single.
give me the whole White Album versus Hey Jude. Like I love Hey Jude, and everyone loves Hey Jude around the world. But I would live in a world without Hey Jude. If the choice was Hey Jude or the White Album, I'll take the White Album. I'll take the side 2 of Abbey Road, where they just each wrote like 30-second songs each and just plowed them all together. I'll take that over, one Get Back or something.
Yeah. So someone wants to give us $500,000. That's what we're gonna do. Charlie, new plan: $200,000 each for the two.
I love that. Yeah, Matt immediately just goes, first of all, we would take 2/3 of the money and pay ourselves. We wouldn't even put that into the movie.
It's the fee. Okay, $200,000 each, so that we can afford to not work other jobs for a little while, and then we have $100,000. We can spend $30,000 on equipment, and then with $70,000 we can make like make 4 nice movies.
Yeah, and set a little aside for a long walk budget, because we're gonna have to be like brainstorming like crazy.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Totally. So
you could even make a Long Walk documentary and just call it a film, or make like the Long Walk Massacre. There we go. All you do is 10 people set out on a long walk, and by the end of it, there's 2 people left. And it's just some guy who's stalking you along the rail tracks the whole time, bumping you off while you sleep.
So we're going to be there anyway, yeah.
603-644-0048. Any sultans who want to give us that money?
Right.
What do they get back? What do they get back with the $500,000? Do we then
starring role? We've talked about it.
What do you mean? What do they get back? They get 5 Motor Media Shock Marathon Charlie Farley movies. That's what they get. They don't even get to be in it.
Are we beholden to them?
No, no, they don't. They just give you the money.
If they're nice, we'll put them in the movie. They could be entertaining.
Are they released? Are they finding distribution, or are we just dealing with it like we always do?
No. All they're doing is giving you the money and stepping back. They don't do anything else.
They're just pure patrons of the art. I like that.
Yeah, I think that if like Johnny Depp, right? You know how he likes to be weird and quirky, but secretly he's been doing Disney movies and buying islands and doing all the other stuff he's been doing, right? And he's like, well, I got my money by being quirky in a Disney movie. And I'm like, yeah, but by the time you're doing the sixth one, Johnny, you don't get to claim that you're like a quirky artist anymore, right? If Johnny Depp, who owns islands, like owns actual islands and big pirate ships, and like he owns all that stuff himself, legitimately. Although I imagine he's probably going to have to give a lot to Amber, what's her name, now that she's left. But even so, he could give you $1 million. Like not even he could give you $1 million like I could give you 5 cents. It would be the same equivalent to what I have in my bank and what he has in his
Come on,
bank.
Johnny. Come on. How many? You have everything you've ever needed. Get back to the basics, the nitty gritty. Come to the garage and find a movie and be in our movie. Come on, Johnny.
He could claim that he was like a weird, crazy artist. They're like, oh, what did you do last year? Well, I starred in 3 of the 6 movies that Shock Marathons and Rotate Media made.
But, I mean, that is something like that would be so cool for everyone involved, you know? And there are people who do cool things. Like, I think when Will Ferrell and Kristen Wiig made a Lifetime movie, that's pretty funny and cool, and like it's a outside the box thing that isn't going to make them a lot of money, and is just kind of like to do it. That's why we make our movies, and anytime anyone else does stuff like that, it's pretty interesting. So I'm surprised more people don't.
Yeah, me too. I'm completely surprised. I think the only thing that stops people is I think it's the fear of the blank page. I think people look at it and go, this has to be perfect, this has to be something, this has to have an A, B, and C plot, this has to have a first act, a second act, a third act, it has to have this, it has that. And I think people start running through their heads all the stuff a movie has to have before they even put pen to paper, and I think that probably deters so many people. And I think the beauty of what you guys do is that first of all, you don't seem afraid of that. Secondly, you know what you have available. So you use your garage, you use your backyard, you use your house, Matt, to be half Elizabeth's house and half your house in the movie. Your Rusty Sinclair lives in your living room, and Elizabeth's character lives in the rest of your house, like the way you film it. Which is awesome. But you know what you have, and you know what you can do, and you know who you have available, and you just go, well, we're going to write a movie. And if in this one, McGee has to play a psychotherapist with a glowing pink foot that can take away people's senses, he'll do it. He'll figure it out. Let's just go. And that's what's amazing.
We knew we had Tom, who had done many an accent on some Moe's Haven tracks with Farley. And, you know, when you need an Eastern European, you go to Tom Scalzo, and he delivers.
And he doesn't do an Eastern European accent at all, but he just does his own accent with a slight, like, speech impediment.
It's so
he's so good. And the fact that there's the thing that I think Farley and I don't know if anybody enjoys it as much as we do, but just his like the little things he goes off on and his philosophies and things like that. It's just the fact that that's in a movie. I would hope that the audience member would say, I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
That's what we want people to have, because we can break all the rules that people who have to answer to 10 or 15 or 20 producers and exec. We can have the Eastern European just talk about private property rights.
Right.
And that is awesome. And there's this whole other thing going on there that you can imagine, like another movie and his background and all of this. And I just think that's funny, because it's a joke without being a joke. It's just the scenario, and it's true to the character, but it's also like a gentle rib against some movies that have just really weird stuff in them.
Well, the testament to your film is that pick a character, any character in your film, from Kyle's character through to Matt's character, and you can build an entire movie around any single one of those characters.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. My character could have a film. Sharon's character could have a whole film. Brendan and Randy's characters could have a whole film. Like, there's all your films filled with these rich and interesting characters. Tom Scalzo's character could have a whole film.
Or like a music, like a Nashville or style music movie about Elizabeth's folk singer, you know?
Yes, of course. And you could even he did a Hobo Man. No, what is he?
Vagabond
Man McMurtry could have his own movie. And that's what's incredible. The preppy guy could have his. Yeah, everyone could. Even like Charlie, of all the scenes, like I love the film, but like you cracked me up. Like your muffin line when you're in the cupcake shop, not muffin, sorry, cupcake shop, and you're in line at the cupcake shop during the big finale. That had me laughing.
Brilliant.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Elizabeth hanging up the phone. That was absolutely hilarious. That had me laughing into the next scene. I had to rewatch the movie the moment I got home because I missed a whole scene from laughing at Elizabeth. Like it was fantastic. So it's a fantastic achievement. I could talk to you about it all night. But just to say this. Every single critic on the planet at the moment is going on about this movie, Arrival. And the reason why they're going on about it is 2016 has been so crap for films. It really has been terrible for films. I've actually been trying to catch up on movies I missed, and now I'm wishing I wasn't, because that's how bad 2016 has been for movies. That when Arrival came out, which isn't entirely horrible, people have been raving about it because they're like, oh, it's a sleeper hit. It came out of nowhere. No one expected it. And suddenly it's like this big hit and everyone loves it. And the critics are going all crazy about it. Well, I watched it at the weekend. First of all, none of the characters in the movie even sustained the movie that they were in. Right? But you couldn't have taken any of their characters, either their backstory, their future story, their current story, nothing. There was nothing about anyone in that movie that you could extrapolate and make anything interesting out of. They were absolutely tissue paper thin people that were simply functioning to tell an M. Night Shyamalan type twist, ultimately. And therefore, the movie that all the critics are raving about, Arrival, doesn't even make my top 10 of 2016, whereas Slingshot Cops is right in there. So that's not that's not because I know you. That's just because if I saw Slingshot Cops in 2016 and all the other movies that I've watched, and I've put lists up to show all the films that I'm trying to catch up on for 2016, Slingshot Cops would still make it into my top 10 because it is a far superior film to so many that have been made this year. So
I think sometimes with movies, they start off with an agenda or something that they a scenario, just something that they want to convey. And it doesn't come from a character standpoint at all, and then they just have to fill in the blanks with the stereotype characters. But a lot of times when we work on ours, we just try to think, who can Farley play, and we've got the character first.
Yeah, and like Woody Allen movies or Wes Anderson movies, or who else does like ensemble pieces, like Robert Altman movies or whatever. You put them on because you go, I want to spend 2 hours with those people. Like, whatever it is, whether it's the Upper East Side of New York, or whether it's the crazy Tenenbaum family, or whether it's, the people in Nashville, or The Player, or whatever. You pick your Altman movie. They build worlds so well that you go, I want to spend 2 hours in that world for whatever happens. So who falls in love with who and who kills who and whatever, not really important. I just want to spend 2 hours in them. Your films are like that. I want to spend 90 minutes in like Motonville or whatever the name of the thing is, because you flesh out the towns in which your mysteries, monsters, and action takes place. You flesh them out so well that I like that. It's like returning to it's like returning to your hometown, and it's filled with all the like eccentricity that you remember it being when you were in childhood, and you return to that town and you're like, I just want to spend a couple of hours there drinking it in. That's what watching your movies like.
We can flesh it out at the same time. We can distill it down to its a simpler world, which sometimes I kind of wish the world were like. For example, in Slingshot Cops, the way that a commish works and the way that the mayor works, it's all a simplification of how real politics or real paperwork goes. But that's boring. Real paper, that's like real world. That's not fun.
Right.
So we can kind of like simplify it all. Or in Manch Vegas, in the real world, Most would never really be able to make enough money selling the hot dogs and the CDs for all those 3 people to be their full-time job. But what if we imagine they could?
Right.
And that's the world I want to live in, where you could walk around and do that, you know?
Right. And I think it speaks to... I think it's the flip side. There's a lot of people going around like, I wish America was the way it was in the 50s. And there are a lot of people saying that with negative connotations. But there are also people out there saying it with positive connotations in terms of neighborhoods, in terms of families, in terms of adventures in your backyard, a more innocent kind of time, which is sort of that rose tint that people tend to put on. It's not so much the life they lived, but it's the life they watched on TV or the life they read about in books of that era, or maybe the singers of the day sing about that life, or, you know, and it's if you look at something like Edward Scissorhands, it's sort of the life that Tim Burton is kind of both parodying but also celebrating, in that kind of rows and rows of terrace houses and all the different colors and people mowing their lawns and things. And you know, Rocky Horror Picture Show has that aspect at the beginning of it, of Dentonville and all that stuff that's going on there, and the kind of Americana of it all. And you guys have that, and in that you tell your own stories and you tell your own twisted tales, and it's fantastic. But like the fact that you're able to build that seemingly out of a world that seemingly out of a contemporary world, but also out of a world that no longer exists, but also out of a world that will never exist, is fantastic.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Yeah, it's not tied to any decade or time. Just like you said, it's just a feeling. You know, we can have all the right emotions, but then you can just get rid of a lot of the boring details.
One of the things I said with Kim after the movie was, I love how the Eastern European is never a figure of ridicule. Yes, we're kind of laughing at the fact that everyone calls him the Eastern European, but by the end, he's he's like one of the heroes. Like, there isn't that thing like the you know, Manch Vegas or Motonville or Woodville Central, whatever you're calling the town this time. Like, they take him in, they embrace him. You know, he's part of the town now. He's just another one of the town eccentric. He's as important as the ninja and the poet and the, you know, all the other stuff that goes on in this town. You know, and that's what I love about it. That's what keeps me enthralled by your films.
I feel like we've watched, Farley, at some point some classic, you know, 70s or 80s, not classic, but 70s or 80s obscure movie where they would just name their characters something really unique and charming, and we would just wonder why, but it stuck with us, you know, because we were watching for Shock Marathon, we're watching like 24 movies in a row, and it's the little things that stick out that are different that make us remember a movie. So it's like the ultimate test of what you can remember, because you're watching so much back to back to back to back. And when they would credit a character, it would be, you know, an actor would be somebody as, and it would be something as crazy as the Eastern European. So it doesn't have anything to do with his where he's from, his nationality. It could be as like the gardening fool. Like, it could be something like that. It could be anything.
Yeah, there's one with the film Venom where it says like Oliver Reed as Jackie Boy or something like that. Like,
exactly.
It has something like you're like, Oliver Reed
so charming. It's so charming. And I mean, sometimes it's an actor you don't even know. Right. And it's just really charming that they took the time to name that character something and they just went with it. Yeah. And it's unique and memorable and all these good things.
Yeah, it's like the what's the thing that they say about and introducing. That's what they say about like kids or their first movie, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I feel like you could do that in your movies. Like, you could say, and introducing McGee as Sensford, even though he's been in all your other films, and it's not his first film. I feel like you could have done that, and it would have been fine.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of first-time actors we've used. We could probably do it and introducing, and then list like 10 to 12 people.
we always say Tom. Tom is always the last, and we say as, like, whenever we do the credits, and Tom Scalzo as Teddy Hollingsworth or the Eastern.
Yeah, we've been doing that for over a decade. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's see, now that's good, because I don't think that I'd noticed that. Like, I don't think that I'd noticed that was one of the little ticks in the movie, so I love that.
It's in Sammy. Right, Farley. It says Tom Scazzo as Johnson. Yeah.
There's something wonderful about that credit, isn't there? Just like, and so as, Jeff the Butcher. And you're like, well, why? Yeah, it's incredible.
And Tom's in the movie for about 12 seconds.
Yeah.
That's Johnson. Well, look, that's phenomenal. Guys, Farley first, then Charlie. Tell us where we can find you, and tell us where we can buy Slingshot Cops.
Moturnmedia.com has all the stuff I do, and it's also where you can buy Slingshot Cops at the store section. Use the there's a PayPal button, and this is homemade in every way. I'm putting it in the box and addressing the envelope and going to the post office. We've sold like 40 something online so far, which is pretty amazing. If we've made some steps in the right direction. If we had made River Beast available for sale online, I don't think we would have sold that many. Charlie, what do you think?
You're right. Correct.
All right, and where can you be found, Charlie?
Shockmarathons.com. I have a couple River Beast shirts for sale there. Sometimes I'll post a picture of a fun VHS or talk about a little bit of horror, but more or less I'd say go to moturnmedia.com to get Slingshot Cops, because Farley's got the inventory and he's great at fulfilling orders. He's taking calls. In fact, we just filmed yesterday a quick infomercial, and Farley was rolling with it. He has, if he ever wants to get into the infomercial biz, it's there for the taking.
Yeah, well, he does it each week with his podcast to rapturous success. So we hang on every episode when it comes out. We can't wait.
That's true.
So, but yes, urge everyone to find these guys on Twitter at Shock Marathons and at Moten Media. Check out their website and buy Slingshot Cops and buy it on Blu-ray to get the fireside chat with Jon Cross, which I feel like is more informative than this podcast. And yeah, buy it on Blu-ray. And if you don't have a Blu-ray player, buy a Blu-ray player to buy this on Blu-ray, and then also buy it on DVD so you have two copies, just like I did.
Yeah, it's not going to be online. We have no plans or intentions of making it available for download or stream. So if you want it, you gotta buy it from us the sort of old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
And if possible, watch it with a group of people. I mean, that's part of the reason we're doing this tour, to show it with a group, because you need other people in the room to laugh. It is not meant to be watched in a mood where you're not ready to laugh.
But don't laugh at it, laugh with it.
Laugh with it, smile.
Yeah.
Just like feel happy. And I really do think that when you watch it with a crowd, there's a good feeling, and if someone had to review it after they just kind of watched it and like came home from work and they had a busy day and they were hurried and they just watch it by themselves, it's not going to be the same. So we do make it with the audience in mind more than probably a lot of filmmakers do.
And you can laugh at it too. That's fine. I'll take any laugh.
Yeah, but I
know that we were trying as hard as we could.
I will criticize you if you laugh at it. Matt won't. Matt wants the money.
He wants the laughs too.
I want the authenticity.
As long as they're laughing, I'll take it.
No, true. I understand that. But guys, you got to keep doing what you're doing. Not just because I'd like to piggyback on the back of it, but also because it's phenomenal and I love it. And
2019, John. 2019, we're filming again.
That's the next time you're filming. 2019, 3 years from now.
Right, Farley?
At the earliest, yeah.
So it's coming out in 2020.
Unless Johnny Depp hooks us up.
Unless Johnny Depp hooks you up. But before that, I will have you both in my film, which off the back of Slingshot Cops, I've been inspired to start writing The Shambling Detective versus Sasquatch.
I love
That's the name of my movie, and it will be filming at Jay Mayo's house in Massachusetts and throughout New England in the end of 2017, 2018, something like that.
Sounds good.
And I want you both in it.
Awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, I have kept you on the phone way long enough. Thank you so much, guys, for being on the After Movie Diner. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I feel like I could talk to you all night. Congratulations with all the screenings. It's fantastic. If people still want to see the movie and they're in the Northeast, head to Binghamton, New York. When is that? December 10th, right?
Yeah, Saturday night.
Saturday night, December 10th. Binghamton? How do you pronounce that? Binghamton?
Binghamton,
New York. Binghamton, New York, upstate New York. Go watch the movie because it's incredible. Support something local because they deserve it. And then buy the Blu-ray and the DVD and a Blu-ray player to play the Blu-ray. And then just buy additional Blu-rays in case that Blu-ray in the future wears out.
Amen.
So thanks ever so much, guys, for being on the After Movie Diner this week. And if we don't speak before, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
You too.
Great.
Thank you, John.
I listened to every episode. Long live the After Movie Diner.
Thanks,
Yeah, I love
man.
your stuff, man. I always cheer on your views against remakes. I'm like, yeah. Tell it like it is, man.
Yeah, the only remake I would ever allow is if we all got together when we were 80 and remade Freaky Farley just for the hell of it. That's the only remake we would allow.
Do it. See you then. All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right, take care.
Good night.
All right. Bye.
And the only way we can possibly end a podcast as quite ginormous and rosy as this one is with the music of the Dying Elk Herd. They can be found on Spotify, iTunes, CD Baby, all the places where music is found. That is Dying Elk Herd. You heard that correctly. And no one quite brings the musical rock thunder of independent movie making quite like the Dying Elk Herd. And so to end this show, as we end every After Movie Diner with a bit of knees uppery in the tune department, it is the wonderful theme from Slingshot Cops by none other than Dying Elk Herd. Check them out on Spotify.
Little pippies in a fright when the sound goes pop. And you know they're on the case when the trail goes hot. Stop in the name of the law, boys. You wanna run the other way when you run into the Slingshot Cops. Chase those boys through town to the county line. And the world's a bit brighter just to know that they're out there. Not your average man in blue, but they don't really care. They're the Slingshot Cops. They're always there to lend a hand to protect and serve their fellow man. Gonna quit, gonna pull out all the stops. Never ever gonna die, gonna give it all they got. Stop in the name of the law, boys. They're coming for you. Are you ready for the Slingshot Cops? Chase those boys all night to the county line. And the world's a bit brighter just to know that they're out there. Not your average man in blue, but they don't really care. They're the Slingshot Cops. They're always there to lend a hand to protect and serve their fellow man. On patrol far and wide until they cross the great divide.